Hi everybody, it's Clarke Camper with the March edition of Wall Street and Washington. Today I'd like to do three things. First, I'd like to provide an update on the Volcker Rule. Second, I'd like to talk a little bit about SEC policymaking activity. And then third, I'd like to bust a media myth that I believe has arisen around this fall's presidential election. First, in terms of the Volcker Rule, I don't mean to say I told you so, but I will go ahead and say I told you so because, as I've long predicted, regulators have finally acknowledged that they will not meet this coming July statutory deadline for finalizing the Volcker Rule. The most important acknowledgement in that regard came from Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke, who recently said that in testimony before the House Financial Services Committee. Now that raises a legal and compliance matter for firms trying to figure out if they are obligated under statute to comply with a July deadline, and there is no rule in place. You know, what happens? I do believe regulators I know they're on top of it, and I do believe they will address it in a timely fashion. What we're hearing at this point is that each individual regulator is most likely to issue no action relief letters to regulated entities to make it clear that firms have no legal peril from not complying with the rule not yet in place. However, the much more interesting discussion right now, I think, is around whether or not the Volcker Rule as proposed is so fundamentally flawed that it's got to be reproposed in a new form and put out for comment. Now, I would say that a few months ago, maybe even up until a few weeks ago, the people who expected the proposal to be reissued were winning. It really did look like that was what regulators were going to do. However, the last couple of weeks, particularly noises out of Treasury from Treasury Secretary Geithner on down, have indicated that, in fact, regulators may feel that they can actually kind of salvage the rule as proposed by making some changes to it and then, much more importantly, providing a lot of additional guidance. Now, I don't know which way that goes. My feeling is it is about 50-50 that it could go either way. If your firm cares about that matter, about whether or not it needs to be reproposed or can be salvaged, jump into the battle right now because those decisions are being made as I speak. Second, moving to the SEC, I wanted to discuss a couple things. First, I wanted to discuss the Consolidated Audit Trail, or CAT. It's no secret that Chairman Shapiro considers the CAT to be one of her signature accomplishments, and it is indeed a very important thing. Industry has jumped to the conclusion over the past couple months that the CAT is not going to be, the CAT as proposed, I should say, will not be a real-time proposal. In other words, information from the CAT need not be in real time, but could be delayed some period of time. Now, I think it's a mistake to jump to that conclusion. Certainly, there were comments from some at the SEC a few months back that might indicate that the SEC had moved off real time. However, I think a much more careful read of the tea leaves, including some of the things that Chairman Shapiro has said, is that in their mind, real time is very much on the table. Now, that's not necessarily where things end up, because my guess is that ultimately we will not have a real-time CAT in place. But in terms of a proposal itself, don't believe that it's a foregone conclusion that it won't be real-time. One other SEC policymaking matter I wanted to mention is high-frequency trading. Chairman Shapiro made some comments a few weeks ago that got, rightly, a fair amount of attention around high-frequency trading. She restated some of her concerns about whether or not it was negatively impacting the markets and investors, and said that the SEC was looking into the matter. Now, clearly, obviously, as Chairman Shapiro says, the SEC is looking very hard at the matter. My feeling is, crystal balling it a bit, that the SEC will not end up promulgating any formal rules on high-frequency trading. It's owing really to a couple things. First, the industry itself is already taking steps voluntarily to limit the number of canceled orders. And then second, just given all the things on the SEC's plate, the bandwidth issue is very, very real. And I think coming up with something new on high-frequency trading would be very difficult for them to do. But again, that's my prediction. Moving then on, in terms of predictions, moving to my third topic, which is the media myths around this fall. I've heard in the media, and then also, frankly, I hear it from my friends in business and industry, the feeling that the election is over, that the president is going to be reelected. The Republican primary race has been just so divisive and so diminishing in terms of candidates that Obama's going to win in a walk. Now, I want to be very clear, I'm making an analytical point, not a political one, but my analytical point is that's a mistake. The election is not over. November is a long, long way off. Almost anything can happen between now and then. And much more importantly, I think we live very much in a 50-50 country. And regardless of who wins, it's going to be a very, very tight race. Pulling out the crystal ball one more time, I'd say it's going to be within 3 percentage points either way, again, regardless of who wins. So with that, I'll wrap things up. We'll see you next month on Wall Street and Washington.